So, approximately 4 weeks ago, I made a complaint to the BBC because on their Twitter feed, now X, so whether it's called a tweet or whatever they call it these days, they tweeted this, which was a graphic of claiming Lewis Hamilton, 2022 no wins, 2023 no wins. Lewis Hamilton finishes another F1 season without a win. Now, this statistic could be applied to 15 of the 20 drivers on the grid, yet they only made this post about one of them, and that was the guy that you see in the picture. And that tweet got 6.3 thousand likes at the point in time where I made the video, and so on from that it's likely they would have got some more responses. As many of you will be aware, that is a tweet that is purposefully undermining a human being, and those people that like it are trolls. They dislike Lewis Hamilton, whether that's because they don't like him because he is a black man, they don't like the colour of his skin, and therefore that means that they hate him, or they don't like what he attempts to stand for, or they don't like him because they prefer a rival and therefore that turns into hatred of him. For whatever reason, posts like this fuel the haters, and the BBC created this post. They are media, they are the media, they know what attitudes are reflected and what attitudes are fueled by the content that they put out, and yet they put this out. In putting this out, they created hate. That is what they did. So I complained to them, as did several other people, and this video I'm going to take you through that complaint, the response I got, along with somebody else's complaint, the response that the BBC gave to somebody else's complaint. Just evidence in it because the BBC are complicit with this, and it's all part of a media narrative. I actually did two complaints. The first one they didn't like because I used language which they perceived to be bad language. They labelled that as me being abusive towards them. My complaint to them that they were perpetrating an abuse of a human being by creating material that was trolling of that individual, and therefore it was abuse. They didn't want to take that criticism on board. Instead, they claimed that my message to them was abusive. See what they do there. So I submitted this complaint, which reads as follows. The BBC Sport F1 journalist Andrew Benson is corrupt. That's a statement of fact that I can and will evidence. Andrew Benson has done nothing but present lies and disinformation about the true nature of the sport ever since 2021. I have complained to the BBC numerous times before, and the BBC continually defend him. And I've made at least 5 or 6 complaints, probably more, about Benson. Enough is enough. Andrew Benson's refusal to report the truth about the situation has caused hate. It has fueled trolls. Andrew Benson is supposed to be a journalist. There are over 100 things about what actually took place in Abu Dhabi 2021 which Andrew Benson has never exposed. His job is to report the truth, the facts, rather than yesterday's troll-fueling social media post with the statistics of Lewis Hamilton achieving 0 race wins in 2022 and 2023. Reveal that, Andrew Benson, but hide the facts about the true level of corruption behind the fixing of the 2021 World Championship, which denied Lewis Hamilton of a record-breaking 8th World Championship. Reveal that, for the last 2 seasons, Red Bull, Max Verstappen, have dominated off the back of cheating, a breach of financial regulations which gave them lasting performance advantages, like an athlete who has taken steroids but who is still allowed to keep competing and still allowed to keep winning with those illegally gotten advantages. Who is paying Andrew Benson to do this? To not expose this? To condition minds? The BBC need to take action. This is going to be taken further, and those at the BBC who defend Benson will be subject to the consequences too. The evidence is presented on my YouTube channel, #F1XED. Here is a link to just one of the videos exposing basic information that it should be your chief has never revealed. Failure to deal with this appropriately constitutes complicity by the BBC in Andrew Benson's corruption. So that is what I submitted to them, and this is their response. Dear Mr. Atkins, thank you for contacting us about the BBC Sport website. Firstly, I'm sorry about the delay in getting back to you. Please accept our apologies for the delay in replying. We know our correspondents appreciate a quick response, and we are sorry you have had to wait on this occasion. It is important to recognise that a fundamental part of Andrew Benson's role at the BBC's as the BBC's chief Formula One writer is to offer analysis, using his experience and knowledge. Whilst we appreciate that you may continue to disagree with some of Andrew's analysis, we can assure you this isn't indicative of bias. So the video I just put out earlier today shows you the level of Andrew Benson's analysis. Shows you that when Andrew Benson is supposedly writing an article about an FIA sporting director quitting after less than a year in the job, rather than explain what his role is, why he was put there, and the current controversy facing the sport, Benson's analysis is talking about George Russell, saying that he'd been a great addition, saying that Deborah Mayer resigned from her position, saying that they come in the wake of Ben Sulayem finding himself caught in the latest of a series of controversies, a compliance investigation regarding Toto and Susie Wolff. He talks about Formula One being one of the first international sports to resume activities after the pandemic, or during the pandemic. That is what Benson offers as analysis as to what Steve Nielsen, why he has quit after less than a year in the job, and why it is there is a problem, and what his role was, and what are these problems. Because they don't form any part of it. The things that you presented there as your analysis, Andrew Benson, they are completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. And that is your level of analysis. And yet, your colleagues at the BBC who are responding to me have your back and are saying that Andrew Benson's role is to offer analysis. Well, I've just demonstrated you're incapable of doing that. You're incompetent. You can't offer valid, relevant analysis. Why is that? Why is that? If you're in the role of the chief F1 correspondent and you lack the basic ability to write articles that expose the truth about a situation, how do you still have a job? Anyway, more from the BBC's validators. Nevertheless, we do value your feedback about this. All complaints are sent to senior management, and we've included your points in our overnight report. These reports are amongst the most widely read sources of feedback in the company and ensure that your concerns have been seen by the right people quickly. It helps inform the decisions about current and future content. Thanks again for taking the time to get in touch. So the BBC give you nothing but lip service. They give you nothing but lip service. They dismiss your complaint. They validate their journalist and then just brush it away after paying you nothing but lip service. But I have the evidence of each of your responses, BBC, to each of my complaints. None of them responses are satisfactory, and none of your responses offer any proper validity to the role of your F1 chief, Andrew Benson. So here's the other response from the BBC that has been sent to somebody that I'm in touch with on Twitter. One of many people who has contacted myself. One of many who is of the same mind as many of us who seek justice and will do whatever we can do to further the campaign for justice. And after submitting a complaint to the BBC, this is the response that they got from the BBC. Thank you for contacting the BBC. Firstly, we apologise for the delay in replying. We're also sorry to read that you had concerns about a post on the BBC Sport X account. This was a post that This was a post that may have been of interest to followers of Formula One to highlight the fact that Lewis Hamilton hasn't won the F1 Drivers' Championship for two seasons, especially given his success and indeed dominance in F1 previously. It might be of interest to followers of Formula One to highlight that he's not won the championship for 2 seasons. Do you write that about, for example, Liverpool Football Club? Did you do a tweet on X saying Liverpool Football Club championships won in 2022, 0. Championships won in 2023, 0. Is that what you did, BBC? Did you do that about each of the other Premier League football teams? Did you do that about each of the rugby teams that didn't win the championship in those years? Did you do that about every sporting competitor that didn't win a championship in those years? Is this your justification, BBC? This would be similar to what we would do, for example, with historically successful football teams who may be on the decline or for a particularly bad run of form. So you're presenting then, you think that Lewis Hamilton is on the decline. Is that what it is, BBC? You're presenting, you think that Lewis Hamilton is on the decline, but you're not providing any context whatsoever. The fact that during 2022 and 2023, Lewis Hamilton's chance of success was harmed by the fact that there is corruption taking place in the sport of Formula One, whereby a team which has cheated has not been sufficiently penalised and is allowed to continue competing with a car that has benefited from illegally gotten gains, which has given it a lasting performance advantage, which has impacted every other competitor in the sport. But your chief, Andrew Benson, has never reported it that way. Your chief, Andrew Benson, instead wants to present that, we are watching the greatest ever driver the sport has ever seen. Andrew Benson is presenting that narrative, and that can be evidenced in many of Andrew Benson's reports about the Grand Prix that have taken place. Therefore, BBC Sport feels that this is a legitimate point to discuss at the conclusion of the season in looking back given Hamilton's prominence in the sport and for a predominantly UK audience. You put that out there as a discussion point, did you? You knew that the amount of likes it got. You knew the type of characters that were going to like it. And you put that forward as a discussion point, did you, BBC? Who do you think you're convincing of that lie? You are the media. You know the impact of the posts that you put out in the media. You know the type of responses that it conjures. You know the type of attitudes your posts appeal to. And you did it. That is hate. We would never deliberately set out to cause offence. Bullshit. However, we were sorry to learn that this was the case on this occasion. Your points were noted. We are guided by our experience of public reaction, the constant feedback from our audience to help us know what material is and is not acceptable from them. What a cop-out. What a cop-out. Please be assured that your concerns were sent to our senior staff at BBC Sport and senior management via our daily report. Thanks again for taking the time to get in touch. Once again, playing lip service. This is the nature of BBC. This is the nature of media. They are presenting an agenda. They are presenting a narrative. They don't take responsibility for the hate that they both project and cause. And they condition minds. So I'm going to keep this one short. This is as far as I'm going to go with this one, but it's evidence. This has shown you that we have sent off to the BBC letters or emails of complaint, and this is the level of response that you get. And it's likely that those of you that complain to the BBC will have received similar. And it's disgusting. But it'll carry on, and along the way we're building an evidence file, and when this is all done and dusted, we'll be speaking to the BBC again. Thanks for your time.